God has a voice unlike any other. And it's amazing how many people return from their near-death experiences describing God's voice just like the prophets in the Bible did. At times that voice is soft and gentle, yet also authoritative. And other times it's overwhelmingly majestic and powerful. Like Ezekiel said in chapter 43, I saw the glory of the God of Israel coming from the east. His voice was like the roar of rushing waters. And Daniel saw the theophany of God's presence and described the brilliant light and a voice, quote, like the sound of a multitude. Now, before she knew Jesus, Kalida had heard a voice inside her heart telling her to, quote, leave the darkness for the light, while she was being beaten by her husband, a Muslim. But during her vision of heaven in a near-death experience, she heard Jesus speak with a voice like mighty rushing waters, powerful and soothing at the same time. And she recognized it as the same voice she had heard years earlier during her abuse. Let me read you what else she says. When he spoke, it was like somebody had put a tremendous loudspeaker and it just bounced off the clouds. The voice said, take her back. And the light was so beautiful. It was so bright all around the Lord. And his voice was so commanding and yet so gentle. That's how Kalida described it. Another person said, I heard a commanding voice that came from everywhere, all at once. I even heard it inside of me. It sounded like a thunderous clap of lightning, a great wind, and whitewater rapids all rolled in together saying, it's not your time. Another person said, the voice of God was like the voice of 100 friends talking in harmonious unison. I was alarmed until I listened to what he had to say. Don't be afraid. You have nothing to fear. It's going to be okay. Imagine hearing that. All over the globe, people who experience death hear the voice of God. Sama, who I quoted to you yesterday, a Christian from the Middle East, heard this. Welcome home, Sama, he said in a voice sweet and gentle, yet also powerful, like the sound of many waters. He opened his arms to me. His beautiful eyes were like blazing fire of consuming love that overwhelmed me. In yesterday's daily office reading in John chapter 10, Jesus likened himself to a good shepherd who calls all his sheep by name, saying, the sheep hear my voice and they follow me. A huge part of being a Christian is finding that intimacy with Jesus, where we hear his voice speaking inside. And yet in my experience being a pastor, surprisingly few people consider that part of their daily experience as a believer. And to me, that's heartbreaking. Over the last 5 years, I have participated in and promoted to you all Tony Stoltz's Metaformation workshops. These workshops are a truly excellent process of discovering and deepening that intimacy, of learning to hear his voice and learning how to respond to it well. And I've included a link in the comment section below for you to find out more about the upcoming Metaformation workshop in April. And I hope that you will seriously consider stepping into this process. Just think of the difference it would make in your life being able to be closer to him. Think of the difference having our ears better tuned to hear his voice. Think of how much more peaceful you'll be, how much wiser, how much better decisions you'll make, how much more insight you'll gain into what's going on around you. Dear friends, Paul said, the Spirit is bearing witness with our spirit that we are children of God. He is speaking to us in his word. And I've loved over these last few weeks of Lent, spending 30, 45 minutes delving into the daily office scripture readings. He also speaks through other people's encouragement and challenges. Have you experienced that? I have recently. He also speaks quietly inside our thoughts. And that is what we've got to tune our ears to hear. It takes practice. And I think those Metaformation workshops are a great way to get started or to get restarted. And then, just imagine the day when you hear his voice face to face. That's today's Lenten vision, and I'll see you tomorrow for the last one.